What's good, an interweb subscribers, and welcome back to Drama with Ted and Tina. Last time he found out his wife wasn't just cheating, she was doing it with a guy named Greg, who probably thinks emotional intelligence is a brand of herbal tea. He confronted her. She cried. I packed the truth and receipts and decided Greg's wife deserved to know. What started with a kiss outside a coffee shop has turned into a full-blown unraveling. And in part 2, the fallout begins. Doors will be knocked on, lines will be crossed, and someone's going to end up sobbing on a lawn. Let's get into it. First thing this morning, I went over to Greg's house. His wife was home, but Greg was off doing whatever it is Greg does when he's not emotionally detonating marriages over flat whites. Honestly, it worked out better. I got to talk to her alone, no Greg-flavored interruptions or attempts to gaslight his way through it. When I told her what was going on, she didn't believe me at first. She actually said, "You've got the wrong guy." I wish, but then... I showed her the texts, the photos, the timeline, and the digital trail of doom. That shut things down quick. I watched her face collapse like a dying star. She was blindsided. I told her I was sorry, that I hated being the one to bring it to her, but she had a right to know. She thanked me. I gave her my number in case she needed someone to talk to. They've only been married a year. No kids. I left her standing there in the ruins of what she thought was a happy marriage, courtesy of Greg and my wife's joint project, How to Wreck 2 Homes with Just One Affair. Considering I outed my own wife, this was even more legit than her denial. But because I just can't go back to that house, I can't go back to her grief. When I got home, my wife was livid. Not because of what she did, of course, but because I outed her like she was on some reality show. I reminded her she's lucky I didn't hire a skywriter. She said I outed her like she was on some reality show. I reminded her that if she didn't want to be outed, maybe she should have kept her romantic drama out of the Google Calendar we share. She was mad that Greg was upset. Let me be clear, my wife was angry on Greg's behalf. Not mine, not hers, Greg's. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This is who she was protecting. This is the emotional hill she chose to die on. And then, as if this day hadn't already tried to win a daytime Emmy, Greg showed up. At my house, banging on my front door like a raccoon looking for vengeance. I opened the door calmly, because I didn't want to catch a charge, but inside I was seconds from legally blacking out. Greg started yelling at me. Greg! The guy who blew up 2 marriages with a smirk and a cardigan! He yelled that I had ruined his marriage. The man has the self-awareness of a dish sponge. I told him to get off my property and maybe scream at his own mirror instead. He threw a few colorful words at me, like that was going to win him points. I turned to my wife and said, "You brought this mess into our lives. Get Greg off my porch." I started walking back inside, like I was in a movie and had just delivered the final line. But of course, Greg wasn't. He literally lost his damn mind with what he did next. Greg grabbed her arm, shoved her. She fell. That was it. Something inside me just snapped like an overcooked spaghetti noodle. I'm not a violent man. I once apologized to a Roomba for kicking it by accident. But in that moment, something primal took over. I restrained him fast, held him back, and warned him. If he ever touched her again or came near my home, I'd call the cops. Greg, Mr. Big Energy, panicked. That swagger disappeared real fast once consequences entered the chat. He left, stumbling over himself like he was the victim in a soap opera he wrote and directed. Good riddance. Before I went back inside, I turned to my wife and asked the one question I still don't have an answer for. This is who you chose over me? She didn't answer. She just stared at me, like she finally realized the ground beneath her was crumbling. Then she collapsed on the lawn, sobbed. Not a few tears. Full on, end of a movie, sobbing. And for the first time since this whole disaster started, I saw it. The reality hit her. The damage, the stupidity, the crater she carved into both of our lives. And all for Greg. For Greg, I still can't believe it. I told her to leave the house. She refused. I can't stand being in the same space as her right now. So I'm considering staying at my best friend's place. He's been a rock through this, and tonight we're getting a drink. Not to forget, just survive. At this point, all I have left is caffeine, friends, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I gave Greg the emotional beatdown he's probably never gotten. And it didn't even involve a punch. I met Greg's wife at a park. It was weird, like we're both in the same soap opera, but on different episodes. Kind of weird. She thanked me for telling her about the affair, then hit me with something I wasn't ready for. She had gone through Greg's phone, laptop, emails, everything. And guess what she found? A sex video of him and my wife, in my bedroom, on my bed. I could only watch a few seconds before I nearly burst into flames from pure rage. She apologized, but I actually thanked her. At that moment, any last shred of denial I had finally died. Everyone in the comments had been right. My wife's moral compass isn't broken. It never existed. We talked for a bit more, and out of respect for her privacy, I won't go into detail. But let's just say Greg lied to both of us like he was auditioning for a villain role in a Netflix original. She's filing for divorce, and I told her I'd be doing the same. We wished each other luck, like survivors leaving the wreckage of a plane crash. Just when I thought the day couldn't get any dumber, I pulled into my driveway and Greg pulled up right behind me, like some emotionally unstable pizza delivery guy, except instead of pizza, he brought drama. I called the cops to report trespassing before I even got out of the car. He hopped out of his car like he was ready to film a TikTok fight and started yelling. Wanted to know why I met with his wife, what I was playing at, like this was high school and I had stolen his prom date. I ignored him. Walked toward the house, but no, Greg wasn't done. He followed me inside, still yelling like he pays rent. I don't usually believe in violence, but this was a rare exception. I kicked him out. Bloody nose, possibly bruised ribs, and absolutely no respect left. The cops showed up after he vanished, but I filed a report and gave them his address. I'm following up with my lawyer about a restraining order because apparently Greg thinks trespassing is just a suggestion. I messaged his wife to give her a heads up. Turns out, she hadn't even told him about our meeting, which means my wife did, because of course she did. I guess Greg's wife had already kicked him out yesterday, so he was probably just lurking around town like an emotionally toxic raccoon. When my wife finally came home, I greeted her with, "You should check on your boyfriend. Last time I saw him, he was leaking confidence and maybe a little blood." She looked stunned. I told her I knew she tipped him off. She denied it with the enthusiasm of a bad poker player, but then admitted it. She didn't want Greg's wife filling my head with lies. And suddenly it all clicked. I finally saw her for what she was, not just careless, not just selfish, but calculated, a manipulator wrapped in yoga pants and fake concern. I told her to pack a bag and move into the basement. She had until tomorrow morning. We co-own the house, so I can't legally kick her out, but I can sure as hell relocate her to the land of mold and laundry spiders. I told her she was to use the basement entrance from now on, and only contact me about the divorce through text or email. Also, I told her to take the mattress with her. She looked confused, so I hit her with it. "Yeah, I know about the sex video." Her face dropped like a bad stock investment. You could hear the moral bankruptcy dripping off her expression. Tonight, I'm at my buddy's place. He's got snacks, Wi-Fi, and 0 cheating wives. I'll head home in the morning to make sure she's officially moved into the subterranean shame cave. This marriage, cooked, charred, over. There will be no reconciliation arc, no mid-season redemption. I've made my decision. Divorce is happening, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can finally start focusing on something important. And that's where we leave it. For now, Greg's been exposed. His wife knows. My wife's been downgraded to guest room status, and I'm officially done playing the nice guy in someone else's bad romance. But if you think that was the end of it, oh no. Part 3 is coming. And what's waiting on the other side makes everything up to now feel like the warm-up act. So if you've made it this far, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next, because trust me, this story, it's about to take a turn. Ted leaving the building.